So I wanted to record a small video showing how easy it is to create a project with Ymir. So we're going to go ahead and create a demo. So if we switch to that, and now all you need to do is install WordPress. So you would do WP core download like this. This gets the latest WordPress version. Once that's done, you can immediately initialize your Ymir project. So this is going to bring you through the whole kind of wizard to create your project for you. So we're just going to keep the default demo name. Because there's no WP-config file, it doesn't know yet what project we have, but we're just going to select WordPress here. And then the region. And I'm going to reuse my existing database to do this, but if you didn't have a database already, the wizard would ask you to create one if you wanted to use one. So we're just going to go ahead and say yes here. Select database. You can choose to create your production and staging databases. We're going to go ahead and do that as well. It also asks you what the database prefix you want to use. We're going to use the default project name for this, which is demo. And at this point, the project has begun initializing, but we can do some more stuff. So we don't have the Ymir WordPress plugin installed, so it's going to ask us to do that. So we're going to go ahead and do it. And the last question you're going to get is whether you want to use container image deployment or not. For this, we're not going to, but if your project is large, like in the hundreds of megs in size, you will probably want to say yes to this. But for this demo, we're just going to say no. So at this point, our environment's provisioning. We can see that if I just do Ymir info. The CDN's already provisioning, but it doesn't matter. You can already deploy if you want to. So we're going to do that. This is going to start the whole deployment process. You'll notice that we didn't actually have to configure WordPress at all. The Ymir CLI is just going to copy over the sample PHP file for WP-config and edit that if there isn't one. So, and that's all it needs really. We just need to have a WP-config file there. So that's already done and copied and edited. And now the slightly longer aspect of your first project deployment is always going to be uploading your assets. And when you do follow-up deployments, you can it'll go faster because what Ymir is going to do is it's going to figure out which of your assets have changed and which ones haven't. And when this happens, all that Ymir is going to do is copy over the unchanged assets to over, and then only upload the files that have changed or the files that are new. So in general, that step should take probably half the time, if not less than that. But here, since we're dealing with a brand new WordPress installation, you obviously have to upload everything at first. But with once that's done, your following deployments will be a lot faster. So this should take another maybe another 10-20 seconds. If all goes well, and then after that, deployment's going to start. The idea with Ymir, while this is going, the idea with Ymir is to really make it simple for you to spin up projects. I've done that. Whenever there's a support ticket or anything that I want to test, I just spin up a project with an environment, and it's so painless that's what I wanted to show with this video, is how fast you can just get your just a brand new WordPress site going with all your environments from staging, production, everything configured for you. Um, it's usually a matter of minutes, which is amazing to me, especially coming from just managing servers. If you have a server, you can create a brand new site on the server, but like creating a brand new server and configuring it all is always a bit more time consuming. If you're using server configuration software, it's definitely be quick, but I really like that I can just spin up a project like this. So now the deployment started, and that also takes maybe a minute. And then once that's done, we'll be able to see the WordPress site and continue with the installation, the WordPress installation. But yeah, this to me is one of the things that I like the most with working with Ymir is how fast I can spin up a WordPress site and just get going to test specific things. And then deleting the project is also very easy. I can just do Ymir delete once I'm done, and it'll delete all the resources and everything on AWS. So it's very, very easy to just get going, get a WordPress site going. And so here we go. So now we have our staging, or basically our vanity domain. So I'm going to just switch over to Firefox here. And I can just copy over the URL. So we're going to get a warning sometimes at first. That's just because the SSL is not necessarily ready. Here, let's try again. I think I can use it to accept and continue. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time before the SSL certificate kicks in with your browser. But here we can do just our demo, Ymir. This is the password. I'm just going to do test.example.org and just discourage WordPress sites. Actually, I'm just going to copy this over, but here we go. All right, we can log in with this. So we're really up and going already. You're free to just create your content. Here we go with Gutenberg. So this is a test post. And some content. Oh, and I can't see anything. Just gonna move this. Oh my god. There. Move myself to the bottom. Can do publish. And we can do view post. So it's really that simple to get your site running. Like I said, the SSL thing should fix itself. There we go. I just did a Command Shift R for just a force refresh. Now you can see that the SSL certificate kicked in. So that's always like if you're like trying to do this super quickly, you'll have. But if you had just waited 30 seconds, you probably wouldn't even see this error. It might have been also because I just had the window open already. Another thing we're looking at is, are we using, so it's worth looking here, because we did this so quickly, we're only using S3 for the assets. This is done automatically for you. So let's say your CloudFront CDN is not ready when you deploy. It'll just use the S3 bucket URL instead. So you don't have to do anything. So if you really want to speed this up, like, and deploy right away, like I just did, it'll work. You won't run into issues. And then what we can do is, I believe we can just do redeploy. We don't even have to re-upload anything. We just do Ymir redeploy. And this will just go through the entire deployment process again. And at this point, the CloudFront should be ready. So if I remember how my own application works properly, we should see that CloudFront is going to be replaced instead of S3 for assets. But this is really done for you. You don't have to worry about it. The Ymir platform will just kind of know whether it can use your CDN yet, or if it should use. Okay, no. So it's still using this. A bit too far. Too far here. And we just do Ymir info was the CDN. So the CDN is ready. So it might just be that I'm not as familiar with my own application and you just need to deploy again. So we're going to look at that. And this will give you an idea a bit of how fast the deployment goes once your assets are already on AWS. In general, this should be a much faster process because, like I said, there's nothing changed now. All that we're going to do is copy over the files, and copying over files is a much faster operation than uploading them. We can actually, so here we go. So now it says copying. So as you can see, before we were doing, a couple of files. Now it's doing hundreds of files in seconds because it's only copying them over. So this gives you an idea how fast the deployment's going to go once everything's already on AWS. It's a much faster deployment process versus your first time deploying. And that's the idea. You want this. The idea with Ymir 2 is to just make it super painless for you to deploy. You shouldn't even think twice about it. It's just like, oh, I have a small change. Let's just go. Let's deploy it, and it's effortless, and it takes, like you saw, less than a minute to do the whole thing. So now, if I refresh, and there we go. So as you can see now, everything's coming from CloudFront. So that's it. This is how fast you can kind of spin up an environment, a project, and your environments with Ymir. I hope you found that really interesting.